The Intricate Web of Richard Sorge, Espionage and Betrayal in Tokyo. Richard Sorge was born in 1895 in Baku, Azerbaijan, then part of the Russian Empire. His birthplace was a hub of oil industry activity, which brought together a diverse mix of people and cultures, influencing the cosmopolitan background. Sorge hailed from a German family that had settled in Russia. His father was a German mining engineer, which contributed to his exposure to various technical and cultural perspectives. This environment helped shape his complex identity, blending Russian upbringing with German roots. During his time in Germany, where he moved with his family as a child, Sorge received a robust education. His academic journey was marked by an early interest in social sciences. The intellectual climate of pre-World War I. Germany played a significant role in shaping his thoughts and beliefs. World War I was a turning point drafted into the German army. His experiences on the front lines were harrowing, and he sustained serious injuries. These injuries and the overall brutality of the war profoundly impacted his worldview, nurturing a growing disenchantment with the state and warfare. After the war, Sorge pursued higher education passionately. He obtained a PhD in political science, delving into topics that reflected his growing political awareness and skepticism of traditional power structures. His academic achievements laid the groundwork for his later activities in espionage and politics. Richard Sorge's political awakening began with his introduction to communism during his years in Germany. The tumultuous post-war environment, marked by social upheaval and economic instability, provided fertile ground for his growing dissatisfaction with the status quo. This period shaped his ideology, steering him towards radical political views. Joining the Communist Party of Germany was a pivotal moment for Sorge. His commitment to the communist cause deepened as he engaged with the party's activities. This affiliation not only honed his political beliefs, but also put him on the radar of Soviet intelligence, who saw potential in his fervor and background. Sorge's transition from a party activist began with his recruitment by Soviet intelligence. He underwent rigorous training, learning the art of espionage, which included mastering encryption and surveillance evasion techniques. This preparation was crucial for his future success in gathering vital information. His first assignments as a Soviet spy, including Britain, where he skillfully established his cover and began networking. These early missions were instrumental in developing his skills as a spy, laying the groundwork for his later success in more complex environments. Deployment to Japan marked a significant turn in Sorge's career. Posing as a German journalist, he settled in Tokyo, where he adeptly built his cover identity. This strategic positioning allowed him to infiltrate key circles, gaining access to sensitive information which would prove invaluable to the Soviet Union. Upon his arrival in Tokyo, Richard Sorge's spy network, recruiting key figures who could provide high-level Japanese and German intelligence. His recruits included journalists, military personnel, and embassy staff, forming a diverse group that could cover various aspects of political and military insights. Sorge used his position as a German journalist effectively to forge a dual identity, blending seamlessly into the expatriate community. This cover not only facilitated his access to influential circles, but also masked his espionage activities, allowing him to gather sensitive information without raising suspicions. He focused on collecting policy and military strategies, leveraging his network's position to tap into classified discussions and documents. The intelligence gathered was crucial, providing the Soviet Union with a clearer picture of Japan's strategic positioning in the global arena. One of Sorge's most significant contributions was confirming Japan's decision not to attack the Soviet Union, allowing Stalin to redeploy troops to the Western Front against Nazi Germany. This information was pivotal, as it reassured the Soviet military command and significantly impacted their strategic planning. Sorge also in Tokyo, gaining access to vital information about Nazi war plans. This position enabled him to send detailed reports back to Moscow, including critical insights into upcoming operations and strategic shifts within the Axis powers. Richard Sorge's infiltration of the German embassy in Tokyo marked a critical phase in his espionage career. By gaining the trust of key diplomats, he accessed vital information on Nazi strategies and intentions. His position enabled him to transmit detailed reports directly to Soviet intelligence, significantly impacting wartime dynamics. Sorge's intelligence was pivotal during World War II, particularly his reports on Nazi Germany's war plans. His warnings about Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union, were among his most significant contributions. Despite skepticism from some in the Soviet military leadership, his information eventually proved accurate and invaluable. Maintaining his cover in Tokyo navigate numerous challenges and close calls. The constant threat of exposure demanded a high level of caution and ingenuity. His ability to blend into the diplomatic scene while gathering critical information was a testament to his skills as a spy. Sorge's personal life was as complex as his professional one, marked by several romantic involvements that sometimes influenced his espionage activities. Relationships within the expatriate and diplomatic communities provided both cover and critical connections, yet they also added layers of risk and complexity to his secretive work. As Sorge expanded, increased surveillance and risk. The growth of his operations while providing more intelligence also made it more difficult to remain undetected. Each recruit brought new strengths to his network, but also increased the chances of attracting attention from counterintelligence agencies. As Richard Sorge's spy network in Tokyo expanded, the risks of being under surveillance grew substantially. With more operatives to manage and greater volumes of intelligence to handle, the operation became increasingly vulnerable. This period marked a tense phase in Sorge's mission, with every move requiring meticulous care and discretion. The complexity of Sorge's life took a toll on his personal health and relationships. The constant pressure to remain undercover and the high stakes involved led to significant stress. This strain was evident in his occasional lapses in judgment and deteriorating physical health, which did not go unnoticed by his peers. Sorge developed techniques to stay ahead of counterintelligence efforts. He used secret codes and dead drops and regularly changed meeting locations to ensure the safety of his messages. These methods were crucial in maintaining the integrity of the information being sent to Moscow. The role of Sorge's assistants was pivotal in ciphering and transmitting sensitive information. They worked in the shadows, encoding the gathered intelligence and ensuring its secure delivery. Their meticulous work allowed Sorge to keep a low profile while continuing to feed valuable data to the Soviet Union. Despite their efforts, Japanese counterintelligence network. The Japanese authorities started to break up other foreign spy rings, which heightened the scrutiny on all espionage activities within the country. This period marked the beginning of a dangerous phase for Sorge and his operatives as they navigated an increasingly hostile environment. The unraveling of Richard Sorge's meticulously constructed espionage network began when Japanese counterintelligence made a significant breakthrough. Their relentless efforts to dismantle foreign spy rings in Tokyo finally paid off, and Sorge's activities caught their attention. The meticulous work by Japanese agents was driven by growing suspicions of undercover operatives influencing diplomatic channels. In 1941, the Japanese authorities marking a dramatic end to his years of espionage. The arrest was a result of intense surveillance and intelligence operations that pinpointed Sorge as a major Soviet asset in Japan. His capture sent shockwaves through the spy communities and highlighted the effectiveness of Japanese counterintelligence. During the interrogation, Richard Sorge and his network members faced intense scrutiny. Japanese interrogators employed rigorous techniques to extract information about the extent of their espionage activities. Sorge, steadfast in his resolve, managed to withhold critical details, protecting the remnants of his network and their operations. Sorge's trial for espionage was underlining the high stakes of wartime intelligence. His defense strategy, though articulate, could not sway the inevitable outcome dictated by the evidence against him. The trial was a formality leading to a predetermined verdict of guilt, showcasing the tension between Japan and the Soviet Union. Following his conviction, the international reaction was muted, as the world was engrossed in the broader conflict of World War II. Sorge's sentencing to death did not immediately garner significant global attention, reflecting the often clandestine and unrecognized nature of espionage work during tumultuous times. Richard Sorge awaited his fate on death row with a composed demeanor, reflecting on his life. Despite the grim circumstances, he maintained a philosophical outlook, writing letters and notes that pondered the complex interplay of loyalty, betrayal, and the human condition under extreme stress. Efforts by the Soviet Union to secure Sorge's release were half-hearted and ultimately futile. Diplomatic attempts were stymied by the war's broader strategic concerns, and Stalin's regime, perhaps wary of Sorge's intimate knowledge of Soviet operations and priorities, did not prioritize his extraction, leaving him largely abandoned. Richard Sorge was executed by hanging in 1944. A fate met with stark secrecy by the Japanese authorities. The news of his death was not immediately publicized, and it would be years before the full extent of his espionage contributions and the circumstances of his demise were revealed. Sorge's espionage efforts began to receive posthumous recognition. The Soviet Union, having initially distanced itself, eventually honored him as a hero of the Soviet Union. This acknowledgement highlighted the significant impact of his intelligence work, particularly his warnings about Operation Barbarossa and the Japanese plans against the Soviet Union. Declassified documents later shed light on the breadth of Sorge's intelligence activities and confirmed many of his contributions to the Soviet war effort. These revelations helped cement his legacy as one of the most effective spies of the 20th century, demonstrating the profound effects that well-placed intelligence can have on global events. Revelations from have shed new light on Richard Sorge's espionage activities, illustrating the breadth and depth of his intelligence work. These documents reveal detailed accounts of his information gathering, which significantly influenced major wartime decisions and showcased the critical role of espionage in international relations. The impact of Sorge's espionage on World War II outcomes is undeniable. His timely warning about Operation Barbarossa allowed the Soviet Union to redeploy forces to the Eastern Front, which was pivotal in halting the German advance. This strategic shift is seen as a turning point in the war. Historical debates continue to swirl around Richard Sorge's allegiance. While he is celebrated in Russia as a hero, some historians question whether his primary loyalty was to communism or to the advancement of his own ideals. This controversy adds a complex layer to Richard Sorge has been depicted in various forms of media, including films, books, and television series. These portrayals often romanticize his life, sometimes straying from the factual accuracy of his espionage activities, but always highlighting his profound impact on history. The legacy of Richard Sorge in the art of intelligence and the significant effects of espionage on global events. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the human element in the intricate game of international politics and war.